Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Today I have the pleasure of company of Major Gaurav Arya. Major Ji, welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Namaskar. And I seem to find new ways to greet you, but I think I'm most comfortable calling you Gaurav, and I think you said that it's okay to be called Gaurav.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said before, that's what I'm called, and Gaurav is just fine, sir. Please.
So, Gaurav, today we're going to talk about the Ladakh area situation of line of actual control between India and China. And Gaurav, just for our viewers' interest, I'm just going to show a couple of quick bitmaps which show the area, and then this is like the 4 points in Aksai Chin where there appears to be some LAC issues, and then there is a little bit of a detail on that one lake and Pongong Tso, and then the filters. And this is just going to take 5 seconds so that people have some sort of a context about what we are talking, because the line of actual control is 3,000 plus kilometers. So I just wanted to set the context. So if you will permit me, I'll just show you this map. So this is the map. If you look at, are you able to see it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so this is for our viewers. So there are 4 spots that we have highlighted: Galwan area, Hot Springs, and Pongong Tso. And we are also showing you what used to be the Aksai Chin, which China has usurped. And essentially, you can see there that China has some buildup of troops in some areas. There is a claim line that is at 1962 level, which is what was the China war. So this is all just establishing context here. And these are the areas where there appears to be some activity in the recent past. And the second one is, if you take a look at the Pongong Tso itself, there are 2 lines here. There is one where non-disputed area of India is there. There is one which is the non-disputed area of China. And then there is a middle area, small gap. And that's what I would call as a gray area, which appears to be place where the Chinese have come in. Although it must be said that India also has gone there in the past. So this is really the context of what I thought as Ladakh. Although it doesn't prevent you, Gaurav, from going beyond this. I just thought I will show this to our viewers and then go back to the main topic. So the floor is yours now.
Absolutely. So, Sri, what has happened is that, as you showed, there are 2 lines, and this is a perceptional LAC. Traditionally, we have claimed an area which is what China feels is inside China, and China has claimed an area which India feels is inside India, and therefore the clash. Now, you yourself mentioned that the LAC is more than 3,000 kilometers in length. The LAC is 3,000 kilometers in length, and since 1967, we have not fired a single bullet. It's been very peaceful. Apart from the the occasional flying kick, there's nothing happening there since 1967. However, the line of control, which is one of the quote-unquote borders with Pakistan, it's not an international border. It is the line of control that is only 760 kilometers. So here you have something which is 4.5 times the LAC, 4.5 times of the LOC, and perfectly peaceful. And we'd like to keep it that way. You see, a lot of patience has gone into keeping it peaceful. We gave the Chinese a hammering in 1967 in Nathula. Now, you're very right about Indian patrols going across. As I mentioned previously, also in a previous video, I've also gone across many times into China, and they have come in, and we've always been cordial. Sometimes the temperatures do get raised, and there are fisticuffs and kicks and rocks thrown. But otherwise, this is not typically how armies behave. Armies usually, use weapons when they want to confront an enemy or when they wish to fight an enemy. But here, nothing has been used. So that is one part of it. Secondly, China does not have much of an infrastructure there in terms of long-term deployment. So there are 2 things. First of all, the Chinese making roads, making bridges, that we are also doing. That is one part, which was neglected for a very long time. I mean, almost since independence, it was neglected because we had a very skewed thinking that if we made those roads, it would help the Chinese come inside. That was a typically defensive way of thinking, which we have thankfully gotten rid of. And now we are saying it doesn't matter what we build. It should help us reach the LAC faster. So this is all that has happened. That this is how it stands today, where the Chinese will leave. They don't have it in them to face a winter that is minus 40, minus 50 degrees. They don't have they've not built that sort of infrastructure to stay. They have different kinds of infrastructure, which is very good. There is no doubt. So they have A-grade infrastructure, but to stay over the winters, they don't. Chinese will have to withdraw. And another thing is that I have it from very, very credible sources, Sri, that Chinese have already decided to withdraw. What the Indian Army is doing is giving them a face-saving mechanism, actually, because they don't want to go back. Xi Jinping can't go back to his people and say that, hey, I walked into India and then they slapped me around. So what is going to happen is that you see the media is not covering it. So there are no details available in the media. The Indian Army could have given details to the media, but what the Indian media is indulging in is purely rhetoric. And such things. And even the Chinese media is coming up with small little things here and there, Global Times, etc. But overall, there is no traction. Even on social media, there is no significant traction. Initially, there were, satellite images this and photographs this. Now everything is cooled down because both the governments have decided nothing doing. We're going to solve this peacefully, and China will go back.
Now, the going back and forward, I'm just trying to understand, they must have spent a lot of money doing all these things, moving heavy equipment. They've invested in upgrading 2 of their airports close to the border, line of actual control, I should say. And India is, I don't think Dawlati Beg Oldie Airport itself has, undergone any major facelift measures. As far as I can tell, I haven't read anything about it. I could be wrong. Although what India is working on is the approach road from Leh, which makes the distance to be reached in 6 hours instead of much, much more than what it is today, right? That part is one of the things that they have, been complaining, loudly objecting about that. Now, rid me this doubt, Gaurav. Now, India will also need a little bit fallback position, perhaps somewhere not in Ladakh, but further south. Are India also fortifying things like, for example, Srinagar area or something like that, which is, 20, 25 minutes in terms of like a quick hop and thing, but having more resources there. So is India also working on fortifying that part of the country?
So there are 2 things. There is one Thois airbase and there is Daulat Beg Oldie.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let me put it in very plain terms. If you're looking at the Chinese coming inside and us falling back to a certain position, that is never going to happen. That will not happen. There is no scenario that anybody can wargame where we let go of land and the Chinese come inside. Actually, if I may say so, like I mentioned in your previous question, this is a kind of a favor that India is doing China. China was not expecting man-to-man deployment there. We have put in so much of army. You mentioned about Chinese artillery. We have put in Bofors there. We have put in Dhanush there. We have put in M777 howitzers there, which are 155 mm. We have put in our fighter jets. We have put in armored brigades there. And we have hundreds of thousands of men there who are very well trained. There is a Chinese expert, a very renowned defense expert, who recently said that nobody in the world, not the Americans, not the Europeans, and not the Chinese, have mounted troops of the kind of training and of the kind of numerical superiority that India has. So I think we are in a very, very comfortable place. But if your question is that are we fortifying positions in the rear, and if the intent of that fortification is that the Chinese will come in overwhelming numbers and we should have a position at the back to fight from, that is never going to happen. That is not in a million years.
No, I didn't mean it that way, Gaurav. What I meant was a second line of reinforcements, because what happens is like, you also have the other border not very far away from there, like the line of control with Pakistan, and all people are playing out all kinds of scenarios, Gaurav. And this is where mind is so active with ideas. They're saying, oh, India is going to have a 3-pronged offensive from China, from Pakistan, from Nepal, all sorts of thinking. I mean, people are coming up with all these theories. Again,
Yes.
If it's a war gaming room, you might want to play it out and say, okay, I'll see what if this happens, what if this happens. what piqued my interest and what made me to ask you this question was somewhere I read that India is also doing some work in making sure that from Srinagar point of view, also they have some fortification. That's all it was more of
Yeah,
a
sure, sure,
curiosity
sure.
question. Yeah.
No. That part three is true. So the 14 core, the 15 core, and the 16 core,
Right.
these are the three cores that pretty much make up Northern Command. And Northern Command is based in a place called Udhampur in Jammu. Uh, the Jammu and Kashmir. It's based in
Mhm.
Jammu. It's called Udhampur. That is where the Northern Command is. So 15 core is Kashmir Valley, specifically. 15 core is based out of Srinagar. And then there is a place called Nagrota. That is 14
Mhm.
core. So 14 core, sorry, my mistake, 16 core. 15 core in Valley and 16 core, the Jammu area. So you have the line of control there. They are looking after line of control. They have been reinforced. Should Pakistan try anything funny? And 14 core is the area in which this is currently happening. This entire issue of Ladakh, that is in 14 core area and Northern Command. And yes, they have been reinforced, and they have been reinforced to a very, very high degree. We have put in additional armored brigades. We have put in additional regiments of artillery, infantry brigades. There are fighter jets on standby in Leh. I mean, you name it, ammunition, fuel, everything has moved en masse to the border. But we are not playing it up. There is no need to create a war hysteria, is
Of
what the
course.
Indian Army is telling the media. This is what the Indian Army is telling the media. No need to create war hysteria. We have it sorted. There is no fighting happening on the border. The Chinese will move back. It's a matter of weeks. The Chinese will go back.
These kind of things always seem to happen in China whenever there is some political conflict going on. In other words, what I'm trying to say is the CCP doesn't entirely seem to be able to control the PLA, or one of the CCP leaders goes and tells the PLA, here, go and do something, poke, a poke with a stick or something like that. Then that guy just starts acting up. I've seen this happen even, in like Taiwan, for example. Every time there is an election or just before that, China will start, hitting their rhetoric. There'll be two parties. Taiwan is actually a democracy, and it's a functioning, very vibrant democracy. It's a fantastic place to visit. I don't know if you've been there. I've been there many times. Taiwan's like amazing place. In fact, China's prowess today in production and manufacturing is largely due to the Taiwanese based Chinese who went back to mainland out of a feeling of patriotism. I'm talking about 90s, early 2000s, all the way up until now. Everything that was there in Taiwan got reproduced or reconstructed, more or less design to design, like the semiconductor. That's what my interest used to be. All those things, right? There was something in Taiwan, same thing would have equivalent in China. And so this is how China actually grew to what its size is. Yet they'll indulge in these war games, rattling of sabers, and so on and so forth in Taiwan. So I'm just curious. We talked about it briefly last time. You said that number two and
Yes.
number three wrote a letter to Xi. Is there any update to that? What is happening on the situation there?
What I've heard is that first of all, China is extremely opaque, and we
Yes.
all talk about this. We all talk about the bamboo curtain. So
Yes.
you don't get much information, but there are rumors which are circulating that there is something like a palace coup underway, and
Mhm.
not many people are talking about this. Xi's position is no longer as sure and as firm as it was a year back.
Mhm.
Now, after this entire coronavirus thing, and China is not used to being treated with anything less than utmost deference. It's not used to be treated lightly. China doesn't take it very well. So when smaller countries like England, for example, the UK, or other European countries say that we are going to move out manufacturing from China and we want an independent probe into the entire COVID-19 issue, China takes it very, very personally. Now, what has happened is that China sees it as loss of face. Now, this loss of face is something that is very Oriental, that is very Eastern. Like
Right.
we say, ki, like in India, we say, "Izzat pe baat banai," like
Right. 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 Right.
it's on your honor. The China actually, going a step further, Sri, what happens is that when China takes all these things very, very seriously, now what has happened is that she's opponents. Obviously, she's got this position till the day he dies. All
Right.
right,
For life.
and he's got it for life. Yeah. So he's got it forever and ever now, which obviously stops the promotion avenues for so many other people in the Chinese Communist
Absolutely,
Party.
absolutely. The
Right.
pyramid is all
So,
narrow.
yeah, absolutely. And this is exactly what has happened in Pakistan with the 3-year extension of General Bajwa,
Bajwa, right?
which is another topic for another day. But interestingly, now these people who were earlier quiet, because she seemed to be this larger than life figure whom nobody could question. But now, since everybody has started questioning, the so-called termites are coming out of the woodwork in
Right,
China,
right.
and they have started pushing and jostling, and if it's to be believed, I don't know if it's true or not, but I have a hunch that it is. A lot of information that is coming out from China is being leaked by Xi's political opponents to show Xi as weak,
You know,
and
is
they're constantly doing this. Yeah,
I was going to
please.
ask you this question. There is a Twitter handle at DETRESFA underscore Detrisfa or something like that, and that Twitter handle has put out a lot of satellite pictures, positions, and even some videos. Also, I'm wondering, and I looked at the profile, just me curious, and it is the same odd name at protonmail.ch. Now, Proton Mail is something where you can obfuscate your source, and it's very, very difficult to find out from where the origination of the email is, be that as it may. So I'm wondering if this particular source also is based in China.
It could very well be. It could very well be, and it's always very interesting what happens inside the CCP. So there is this huge power jostling which is currently happening.
Right,
She is fighting for his life and his career because in China, once you're disgraced and once you fall from grace, there is no happy retirement in China.
right,
It doesn't come out very well for the people who lose. So what is happening is that there is this war taking place inside a palace coup, if I may. And
right.
this is what is happening. So you mentioned about this Twitter handle. There are other Twitter handles also. The names escape me right now, but there are other Twitter handles which selectively leak out information which is not, so laudatory as far as China is concerned. It's say, oh, we have withdrawn and something like that. So they'll keep on feeding these. So this is massive disinformation campaign which is happening from both the sides in China. So Xi's people are doing something and the other party is doing anything, and all of them by proxies. Nobody's coming in front.
Yes, and I just a slight deviation. I would like to tell our viewers that Abraham Ma, who was the owner of Aladdin, no longer owns the stake that he used to have in that company. For some reason, he's lost all of it, and it's now owned by somebody opaque inside the government. So he's no longer the billionaire that he used to be touted. And this was claimed by another guy, a fugitive from justice from China, who's hiding in an apartment in Manhattan, and it's very amazing what he was saying. He was saying also, by the way, there was an actress that went missing for about 40 days. Lots of stuff happening. People going off, they're coming back, resurfacing. So there is something going on, something afoot. I think last question, Gaurav, is I hear that there is a recurrence of coronavirus in the same area like Wuhan. How true is this, and should the world be worried?
Beijing primarily
I see.
and Wuhan. So
Hmm.
Beijing, half of Beijing they've shut down, and it has gone outside Beijing also. And this is coronavirus 2.0.
Right.
And they say that this particular strain, that rebound, is more
Hmm.
dangerous than the first one. I'm not sure of what the truth is, but there is a lot of chatter on Weibo, and which the Chinese, because they don't have Twitter there in
Right.
China. I mean, normal people are not allowed to use Twitter, while people like organizations like Global Times will have their own Twitter handle. So essentially, what is happening is that this coronavirus is again surfacing in China. Wuhan, yes, but this time it is Beijing, and people say that Guangzhou, Foshan, and also to some extent Shanghai. It is
Hmm.
caught on there. To what levels, we will never know, because we will never know that, because China is not very open when it comes to sharing information. But yes, you're right. It's
Wow.
resurfaced in a massive way.
Wow. Now that's something to be concern to the rest of the world, because now, as in the process of opening, the borders for other countries, now everybody will have to take a pause and wait and see how this one plays out. Because I have heard from reliable information that United States is not going to allow anybody in I mean, general population. Now, already there are some specific target countries to which US flies. For example, there are some flights from Newark Airport near New York to Israel, Tel Aviv, some flights, and a few things like that. But other than this is passenger flights. There are cargo flights going on. I guess they are thinking, US is thinking of not allowing any passenger traffic into the US till September 1st. That's a long way away. I mean, that means I'm thinking the entire 2020 is wiped out. It's like we all lost a year. Everybody is in place, not doing much, just living and surviving. And especially in US, things are really bad. Even today, California is under complete lockdown, not like what you guys are having. As you can see from my hair, I'm trying to match Jairam Ramesh, hair for hair. So, we are still concerned about it. And thank you so much, Gaurav, for sharing that update on China, because there is not
Thank
much
you very
news on
much.
the Corona 2.0. And I think viewers do watch that, and we'll be back with more interesting news. Thank you very much, Gaurav, for taking the time out of your
Thank you
busy
very much.
schedule. And
Thank
namaskar.
you very much.